Hi, friends. I'm Phoebe.
I'm Keiara.
And this is the I Don't Want to Make This Too Long podcast.
The podcast for girlies that like to gossip via 20-minute voice messages to their besties.
Yes. Purr. All right.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good.
I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm just kidding.
And funny enough, I knew when we record, I was like, let me wear the same outfit.
Yeah, I'm going to wear the same
Let me
exact
wear the
shirt
same
and pants.
Whatevs. No one will know.
Yeah, whatever. We're filming 2 episodes in one day. Who cares?
Like y'all don't be doing that.
Cry about it.
Who cares? We have a lot to say.
We do.
And we want to get it done while there's still daylight left, so sue us.
Period.
I don't think it matters.
So for today, what is our topic today? What are we discussing in our second episode?
I think it's pretty exciting personally. We're going to be ranking our favorite obscure by our standards, I guess.
Yes.
Obscure favorite horror films. So if you are a fan of the horror genre, I think you'll get a kick out of today's episode. At the very least, you'll get some movie recommendations that maybe you haven't, some movies that you haven't heard of or haven't watched. Maybe you have heard of them and you just haven't had a chance to watch them. This is your sign to watch them.
Period.
So
we're going to be doing it on a bracket system. So on top of just talking about our favorite obscure-ish horror movies, we're going to be ranking them. And we are going to start off with 16 of our favorites, and we're going to break it down to the best one.
Yeah.
Which ones we'd throw off a cliff and which ones we would save.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be doing it like a countdown of sorts.
Yes.
By ranking. So that's what we're on today. And then we're going to talk a little bit about each film briefly, just so you get an idea of what each movie is about. And if you like any of them, you can determine whether you think this would make your list of films that you enjoy. A lot of these movies we love or we thought we were just fucking batshit crazy.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm excited.
Some were quite traumatizing.
Agreed.
There's a few in particular that there's like a specific scene that
has
been engraved in my mind. So we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that when we get there.
Yes.
But yeah, let's
get into it.
Let's jump right in.
Okay, so for our first bracket, it's going to be Tusk and Tamara. My bad.
That's how they say it in the movie. Whatever.
All right, okay. Let me do.
Those are two very different movies. That's very hard. That was a good start because those are two completely different, like on the realm of films.
Yes.
Like those are two very different. So that's really good.
Let me do a brief synopsis. So Tamara came out in 2005. It's rated R. It's an hour and 38 minutes. And the synopsis is Tamara, an unattractive girl who is picked on by her peers, returns after her death as a sexy seductress to exact revenge. Period.
So good.
I feel like Tusk is probably one of the more well-known movies on this list, but it's still obscure by our standards.
Yeah.
It came out in 2014, rated R, hour 42 minutes, and it's a brash and arrogant podcaster gets more than he bargained for when he travels to Canada to interview a mysterious recluse who has a rather disturbing fondness for walruses.
It's so funny that what's his name?
Justin Long?
He always plays those type of characters so well.
Yes.
He plays them too well. His character, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but I feel like his character in Barbarian is somewhat similar. That same personality.
Just like arrogant
Hollywood like actor, podcaster type.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the drama of it, he's so good.
Okay, so when it comes to Tamara versus Tusk, what is your gut instinct? Like, which movie would you pick? Because they're so different. One is more like a gore, and the other is more just like straightforward revenge plot horror film.
It's damn near impossible to choose between the two because they're so different. But that was a perfect, like, I think that was a great starting because they're you really have to think, like, what would I pick? I feel like with Tamara, to your point, it is like a totally, like, I don't want to use the word cliche in a negative way, but like it is a very cliche like revenge story, but like it's such a good revenge story.
Yes.
Because Tamara has all the elements of like you feel bad for her because she's like this very sweet, unassuming girl, and like for the sake of the plot, she's unattractive. But like Jenna Dewane is far from unattractive. She's like super fucking gorgeous.
Right.
But her character is that like very demure, like just very almost childlike type of character that gets picked on, and her bullies end up murdering her by accident. And I mean, I don't know if we care about like we won't give away like the rest. I mean, I don't know if people care about like spoilers or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
the plot's pretty straightforward.
I mean, it was in the synopsis.
Yeah,
she
dies and she comes back to life to exact revenge on her bullies who fucking killed her. And I love this story because it's so well done. It's a I don't want to say I don't think it's cheesy per se. I think her bullies are cheesy. Her bullies are very like cheesy in the cliche sense of like you have like the hot girl, the jock or whatever, but it's so classically good. But with Tusk
is grotesque. It's body horror. It's like it's just I don't know, and it's just one of those movies that you never expected to end the way it does,
or even like the whole concept is so different. Like there's body horror and then there's Tusk.
That's true. Yeah, Tusk is kind of like 3 levels above body horror.
Body horror. I mean, not that I've seen a ton of body horror movies, just because I don't know if I can handle it. But with body horror, you think like I don't know, cannibalism or something.
Yeah,
you know, like eating people or like some sort of self mutilation of some sort. Tusk is a whole different level of like.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
It made me have a visceral reaction to it.
Like, Tamara has some scenes of body horror. Not a lot. Like, there's... Trigger warning for anybody that needs it. But one of the bullies has, like, an eating disorder. And, like, her thing is that she, like... I don't remember what it was exactly. Something about her nails. It was something, like... slightly body horror related, like with her nails or something. Like she eats and eats until like her nails start to like come off. So there's like a little bit of that, and there's a glass eating scene. Tamara like kind of manipulates her father, who is gross and abusive, to like eat glass, and that was like a little bit of body horror because you see like the effects of like literally eating broken glass and how it can like, oh, it was so gross, but. So in that small way, they're similar. Where like you have the elements of body horror.
Yeah.
But like if we had to get rid of one, or if we had to choose,
I don't know which one I would pick. I like them both. Tamara has more of like a nostalgic feeling to it because I remember like, you know, backstory. When I was a kid, I was really afraid of horror movies, and you would tell me. You basically would explain to me the synopsis and like the beginning, middle, of end of a lot of horror movies because you were like you'd really like it, and I remember because like you used to live in LA, we would come pick you up, and then we'd have this long drive back to my house, and I remember a couple times you would tell me about Tamara on the way home where you're like, we should watch this movie. This is what happens. It's really, really good. But I was too afraid all the time, so when I finally did watch it, it was like. Oh, cool. Like, this is the movie that we've been talking about this whole time. So it does have a nostalgic thing, but I feel like I would pick Tusk. I feel like I'd pick Tusk over Tamara.
Damn. Okay.
Just because, like, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Damn. Okay, so I feel like we're kind of getting into like how we need to break this down, because we have to break it down till we get to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we have to, in a way, plead our cases for both, because the only reason I was gonna pick Tamara is because now that I'm thinking about Tusk, the ending pissed me off so bad.
You know what? Yeah,
the ending pissed me off so bad.
Yeah,
like they had. I don't want to give nothing away if you guys want to watch the movie, but his friends.
Oh yeah, the girlfriend,
and his friend. They had the option. I don't want to say. I don't want to give it away, but what they ended up deciding to do instead of saving him was essentially
a worse fate.
Worse fate than death. Like I mean, God for fucking bit. I'm
not gonna spoil it.
But I swear to God, if you as my best friend, if you don't fucking kill me.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not. I will not keep you in a pin for my own.
I would manifest or conjure up any psychological powers that I have. I would wish misery on you if you made the choice that his friends did. And with Tamara, I feel like it had a more satisfying ending, because even though the ending was like, yeah, it was sad, but it was still a little bit more satisfying, because there was there was a conclusion I could live with.
Yeah.
Versus Tusk, where I'm like,
yeah,
motherfuckers, I swear.
I guess it just depends what kind of movie you're looking for. Because with Tamara, it's a little more cut and dry. It's good, but the ending, like you said, it's more like, it makes sense. It's not predictable, but like formulaic.
It was more satisfying, because I remember the end of Tamara very well.
Right.
I don't know if you do.
Not particularly.
So part of the subplot was that she had a crush on her teacher. Because he was the only person that was nice to her.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Go figure.
I remember.
And her whole thing, the reason she was doing all this, she wanted to be seen as like the hot girl, so she can get her teacher. And the only way that she would let all of this shit go was if she had that man. So they ended up like,
off
the building.
Yes.
And she died. But it was satisfying because you kind of got the conclusion. Like you're rooting for her because she got her revenge. She did get it. And in a way, she did kind of get her man. Man's.
Right.
But it was still really sad because like it was a satisfying ending for the most part, because like it's a horror movie, right? Like it's not going to be like happy,
there's no happy endings.
But it was satisfying enough you're like, okay, like I could live with that. But with Tusk, I was just so monumentally angry at the end because there was no conclusion of like, I'm obviously the old man is fucked up and like fuck him.
Yes.
But his friends,
that honestly, yeah. No, that's a good point.
Why do you guys get to just go off and like ride into the fucking sunset? Granted, the main character is kind of a dick, but like he doesn't deserve that. No, he doesn't deserve this. I'd be so mad, and you can't even fucking fight them. Like,
all right, so we'll give Tamara the first one then.
Yeah,
we'll give Tamara.
So we agree though. Like,
I do.
I feel like that now we kind of know what our parameters are. Like, what are the factors that make our choice? Because both of them different films. Yeah, you know, like it's an impossible choice there.
Right, but and like, I mean, we're not ranking them on like scariest movie or even like best critic wise. Like we're ranking them on what movie we think is better. Yeah, like so that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So we'll do Tamara. Tamara for the win. I'll give it that. I'll give Tamara that. So the next ones are Stay Alive and Devil's Diary.
Wait, did you look at the list at all? Have you seen any of these movies? Are you into horror movies at all? Not really. Okay.
I'm just picking good ones.
I know, because I was gonna say I don't know if you're into horror movies at all, but like if you were, I highly recommend. Picked good ones. You picked good. I think you should. Well, if you want to, of course. Right. I think you would enjoy watching some of these because you've been doing good comparisons so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
wait. So it was Stay Alive and Devil's Diary.
Okay, so before we get into this, The whole reason we came up with this episode was for us to talk about Stay Alive. It was an excuse to talk about Stay Alive. Stay Alive is one of our favorite movies. We watch it almost every time we hang out. It's so fucking good.
We quote it in our everyday lives. That's like one of the main... one of my favorite movies of all time is Scream. I don't even quote Scream half as much as I quote Stay Alive. It's so, like... Perfect casting.
Perfect casting.
The plot. I love horror movies that have like a historical context of sorts because I feel like that's where like the writers or the directors can get more creative with it. Like I think Hereditary was one of those movies that had like some historical. It had like something to do with like the Bible or something.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
very like not folklore, but like
it
had some lore.
It had some like religious lore, like. One of like the 7 kings of hell or some shit like that. But when you give like horror movies historical context, I feel like you get more leeway to like be more creative. And Stay Alive did that with
Sweet Sebastian Bach. I want to play.
I want to play. I'm not tripped out like this since I had that. What did he say? I'll power matzo ball at Bible camp.
Brother.
First of all, let me just point this out before we continue.
Okay.
Bible camp and matzo ball in the same sentence makes no sense. So to whoever wrote that line, I don't know if Jimmy Simpson was just like riffing or like fucking what do you call it?
Ad-libbing or something.
Fuck, what's the word? Improv.
Okay, improving.
I don't know if Jimmy Simpson was just improving or if someone wrote that, but shame on you for using matzo ball
and Bible
camp. Those are you're getting your religions mixed up there. Please have some respect for our Jewish brothers and sisters and our Christian brother, whatever.
For the uneducated, the uncultured folk, Stay Alive is a 2006 horror film. It stars Jimmy Simpson, like we just said.
Yes.
It stars, what's his name? Frankie Muniz. There we go. Frankie Muniz. And then what's the girl's name? October? Sophia Bush.
Put some respect
I'm
on
so
her
sorry.
name.
Okay. So the summary of the movie is, for a group of teens, the answer to the mysterious death of their old friend lies within the world of an online video game based on the true story of an ancient noble woman known as the Blood Countess, aka Elizabeth Bathory. So that's that. Moving on to the movie it's paired against, which honestly feels unfair because we know who we're gonna pick.
Fair harm, but Devil's Diary is so good.
It's a TV movie from 2007, and it says, when two friends, Dominique and Ursula, uncover an ancient book in a graveyard one night, they discover that the book has the supernatural power to grant any evil desire written within it. And when I mean this movie scared the fuck out of me, it scared the fuck out of me.
Because I've never personally watched I don't know if it's like a movie or an anime or whatever, Death Note.
Oh yeah, me neither.
I've never watched it, but I feel like it gives similar vibes where like you write something in it and like it kind of like gives you your wish or whatever.
Right.
With Devil's Diary, it was so diabolical that like I feel like maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know what the writer's intention was, but when you really think about Devil's Diary, it's such a I don't know what to call it. It'll come to me. But it's like the way I can describe it is like the duality of humanity, where like you have this girl who was terribly bullied for being different. She wasn't. She was fucking emo. Like,
right.
This emo girl was getting bullied. She looks like fucking Avril Lavigne. Like, she was getting bullied so badly by like the it girls, cliche. But you feel bad for her in that sense. But at the same time, you give her this tool that is so evil. Where like the only way she can, like her ultimate, like subconsciously her dream was to just stop being bullied, right?
Right.
But you give her this tool to stop being bullied, and the only way she can stop being bullied is doing like the most vile fucking fucked up shit.
Yep.
Like she has to essentially damn near maim and kill to stop being bullied. And it's like, it's sad because you get it, but at the same time, it's like, that's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, but it's like, I
Yeah.
get it.
In some ways, though, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, Devil's Diary a little bit reminds me of The Craft. Because it's the same thing where, like, it's a bunch of weirdos, it's a bunch of weird girls that, like, ultimately, they just want their lives to get better. Whether it's for, you know, this horrific scarring that Neve Campbell has, or the bullying that one of the characters goes through, or the horrible, you know, home life the other character goes through. Yeah. Like, they all just want their lives to get better, but it ends up coming off in these horrible ways.
Yeah, like the way they get there is, like, through horrible means.
Yeah, or they just, like, inflict, like, way more pain and damage than they have to.
Yeah, and it's like, again, like, you kind of, it's like, that's humanity, right? Like, we always bite off more than we can chew, or we end up letting our emotions get the better of us. And again, I don't know if that was like I don't know if the writer was really thinking, and that maybe they were, I don't know. But you think about that movie now as adults, and you're like, wow, like, I feel bad for her that she was getting bullied so severely for, like, again, not even being that different. She was just an emo girl, but whatever. Like, you give someone the power to make their lives better, but only by the means of doing harm to others.
Right.
Like, do you blame them for doing that?
Right. When they've been put, you know, to such a place.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, that girl didn't deserve to lose all her teeth. No.
Right. She really didn't deserve all that. Well,
oh, God.
It's interesting because, like, with this movie, like, you know, there's, like, a clear reason why they're doing the things they're doing.
Yeah.
With Stay Alive, something I think makes me like it a lot more than just all the iconic things we've talked about is that choice is gone. The whole premise of the movie is these kids that unknowingly play this video game that to start it, you have to say this, like, they call it a prayer, but it's almost like, you know, a satanic, like, ritual almost that, like, lets this evil thing into your life or whatever. So it's like the choice element of it is gone from the beginning. And then they're just stuck in this situation where they have to try to literally stay alive in this video game, which, plot twist, if you haven't heard the movie or heard about it, however you die in the game is how you die in real life. So it's like to
that's
take
literally the premise.
So like to have that choice taken from you without even knowing makes it really interesting. And I mean, of course, you and I are history buffs, and the fact that, like, it's about Elizabeth Bathory makes it really interesting too. So
yeah, and if you aren't familiar with who Elizabeth Bathory was, there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not her origin story is in fact true or not. I've heard both. I bought this book from this horror bookstore in, like, Burbank or something, which we should go to.
I know, I want to go.
I feel like the book that I have is a little bit of a complete dramatization of it, but, like, the premise is similar, where, like, she is, like, this mad woman that was like, horrified at the idea of getting old, and the moment that she started to see herself get old, she somehow, like, I don't know if she accidentally or on purpose cut someone. Somehow she got blood on her skin, deluded herself into thinking that the blood shed, like, made her skin softer or more youthful. So she thought, I have to, like, the only way for me to remain young forever is to bathe in the blood of young girls or young virgins or whatever. So she started killing or luring girls into her castle in the village and basically murdering them, like murdering a bunch of young girls and bathing in their blood under the delusion that, like, it would make her young forever. And obviously, no, that's not that's not how it works.
That's not
honey
how
boo
it works,
boo.
sweetie.
But yeah, like, that she was like a psycho who, like, I would say she was, like, one of the first female serial killers.
Probably, yeah.
If the rumors are true, yeah, she is, like, one of the first, like, prominent serial killer. They call her female Dracula for that reason, because she was, like, she would essentially trick families into being like, oh yeah, like, you're poor, your daughter, you know, if you send your daughter to come work for me in the castle, like, I will give
I'll
her
pay you.
Yeah, and like, those people never saw their daughters again.
Foul.
But yeah, like, she was fucking crazy. And again, I don't know if the book I read was, like, at all accurate in any way, but, like, the book kind of alluded to the fact that, like, back in those times, obviously, like, royal bloodlines were very sacred, so there was a lot of incest. So there was, like, the inclination that the reason she was kind of a little off was because she had like some sort of defect because she was a product of incest.
That makes sense.
So that there's something off that like just made her do crazy off the wall shit. Like she had a really bad temperament. She was violent, and that violence as she grew older just kind of manifested into something like monstrous.
Right.
So,
and even back then too, like, I mean, they had all kinds of chemicals and shit in their food. They were eating off of like lead in like just things with like lead in it, toxic shit. I mean, like, you hear stories all the time about how like even like, I mean, we can do a whole episode on history because we love history, but like even back in like the like pre-French Revolution, like these people that wore the white powdered wigs and white face paint is straight up asbestos. It's like straight asbestos or like something like that. So it's like these people just were breathing in chemicals all day that was literally making them insane. And on top of the fact that they were all on some type of drugs. Yeah. So, you know, y'all were just crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. We could do a whole other episode about, I think, the last podcast on the left, if you listen to them, if I remember, they touched on it briefly about the research about whether or not like the reason we had so many serial killers in like the 70s and 80s or in the 60s and stuff was because the consumption of lead kind of like fucked people up.
I could believe it. Okay.
Like, I mean, I haven't personally done any research on it to know if that's true, but they were like, you know, you ever notice like what was the time where we had like the most serial killers?
60s and 70s, yeah.
Where like people were just unwittingly or unknowingly consuming lots of lead and like lead poisoning and like brain damage, all kinds of shit. Like, not so much now, but again, it's not to say that we don't have serial killers now, but like we had a lot back then.
Right.
So yeah, to your point, like back in the time of Elizabeth, it was probably much worse. Like she was fucked up. She had a bad temper. She's murderous, and she was clearly delusional to think that if she murdered teenage girls,
that she'd stay young forever somehow
and bathed in their blood. Girl.
So also, like, shout out to Stay Alive having to this day one of the scariest scenes in any horror movie to both you and I. The scene where her mouth just like rips open is fucking traumatizing, and it's so creepy.
To this day, I kind of have to like...
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable.
Any movie that does that, I'm like...
Yeah, there's a couple that have...
I don't know why it's so terrifying, but it's like...
Yeah. There's something about it.
If you haven't watched Stay Alive, do yourself a favor and bask in the glory that is Sophia Bush as a hot goth girl with bangs and red lipstick. Because my God, is it a sight?
It is. It quite literally is.
She's
the blueprint.
She is. Sophia Bush is the blueprint. Shout out to Sophia Bush.
If you're listening, because I know you are. Thanks.
Yeah, we totally know.
We totally know you are, and also Jimmy Simpson. Hi,
hi, Jimmy Simpson. I really feel like whatever Sophia Bush is. I know she has her own podcast, obviously, but Sophia Bush would have been the ultimate final girl if she had delved more into the horror genre.
I believe it. Yeah,
but
I believe that.
Whatever, live your life, I guess.
Anyways, I feel like. No movie, I mean, hey, we're going to get to more pairings, but no, it's not easy to beat Stay Alive. So I'm voting Stay Alive.
Me too.
We have to.
We literally talked about it this whole time. What was the other movie?
Devil's Diary. Which, it's still a good movie. It has Alexis Johnson, also an original blueprint. Like, she's also in another movie that's going to be on this list.
Yeah, Alexis Johnson is that girl forever. That girl.
She still is.
Vocal legend,
Instant star. Instant star.
Shout out to our Canadian network television for shaping our personalities.
Degrassi and Instant Star made us who we are.
Along with a lot of other shows that were featured on the end before it became whatever they made it later. Whatever the fuck. But when it was the N, when it was called the N, and they had
JT getting stabbed.
Now, why'd you have to bring that up?
Sorry, I just had to like.
We should plan another episode for that. Make a note.
Episode.
That one's gonna be like 2 or 3 hours.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like
sorry,
a 5-parter.
No, but yeah, like the Alexis Johnson, an instant star, going from that to like doing horror, amazing, iconic. But yeah, Devil's Diary is amazing.
It's
but
good.
We gotta
go Stay Alive. Yeah. It's gonna be really hard to beat Stay Alive, I think.
We have to be objective.
We do, but Stay
Alive is just it's better. It's a perfect horror movie. I think
it is.
Actually, before we move on.
Okay.
Before we move on, let me just say this.
Okay.
I have a small bone to pick with this movie.
You have a grievance.
I have a grievance, and I think about it every time I watch it. I think about it even when I don't watch it.
It plagues your mind.
It plagues me with this movie, and it's a gripe I have with the horror genre as a whole, I think, is the unnecessary, well, I mean, it's horror, so whatever, but I don't have a problem with sex scenes in movies, generally. Sometimes I'm like, okay, like, didn't we need that.
Right.
But in horror movies specifically, I feel like most of the time there's no rhyme or reason or segue into like sex scenes or kissing scenes in horror movies. I feel like they do it just because like no one actually respects the horror genre, at least the people that makes it. Like if you're gonna have sex in a movie, please at least give me a reason. I don't know.
Right.
That's just me personally. But in that movie, so randomly, for no reason at all, I don't even want to say it's for no reason. I guess just the way it happened bothers me. Because as someone that is kind of not a film snob, but I'm an actor snob because I'm a Capricorn and I feel like I can do things better than everybody. But there's a scene in that movie. It's after they've already gone to the mansion or the house. And they're running from her. They think Frankie Muniz's character is dead.
Okay.
And they're in like the mausoleum underground thing and they're trying to escape Elizabeth, and they go and they lock themselves in this thing. And it's this moment where like, oh, they escape death, essentially.
Right.
And they're like hugging each other and they share this really awkward kiss.
Yes.
The main character and the blonde girl.
Yes.
They kiss.
For why?
For what reason? And the thing is, I feel like I wouldn't have had a problem with that if there had been more urgency. Like, you guys almost fucking, maybe I'm reading too much in it. I care a lot about movies and I care about acting. If you're gonna make a movie, at least be good. I don't know. Be good at acting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in that moment, if you really think about it in real context for the sake of this conversation, you almost got murdered. You almost died.
Why is that the first thing on your mind?
Well, not even that. If that is your instinct, where is the urgency? There's, you guys have clearly had a little bit of attraction to each other since you first saw each other. That's the reason he invited her to their game night in the first place.
Right.
He thought she was cute. He invited her. You guys are clearly attracted to each other. Fine, I'll give you that. But you guys have not touched each other this whole movie. There was no indication of like anything sexual or anything happening this whole movie.
And nothing even like deliberately like stated or said, just like these like glances or like whatever.
He literally just invited her, like whatever. There was nothing like that, right? So them kissing, there was no urgency to it. It felt so unnecessary and random. I can see if they were like breathing really hard and they were like terrified and they're like, holy fuck, we almost died, and there was like that hesitant like yeah, we're gonna like kiss really quick. But it was so slow and like just awkward that it felt unnecessary. Like there was no urgency in this. There was no hugging. There was like no, like if you
relief.
Exactly. There was no like kiss of like, holy shit, like we're gonna kiss because we almost just fucking died. If you and I were running for our lives from some murdering ass bitch, at the very least we're gonna hug and be like, bitch,
like we made it somehow.
We're gonna hug. We're gonna be like, holy shit, are you okay? Like something.
Yes.
It was just so awkward because it was
we wouldn't just be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
We made it. Like
exactly. It was so awkward because it was so slow and like like why the fuck did you guys just kiss?
No, what was that for?
What was that for?
No, why'd you do that?
Again, like the context, if I was the director, it would have been more deliberate. It would have been like
more oomph,
you know, like. But just adding random sex scenes or adding random like kissing they do it in horror movies all the fucking time, and it just feels like unless there's like a reason, something that's going to keep me engaged in it. Like, I can see if there's like a build-up.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, like, yeah, they were going to fuck. I can tell.
Right.
But if we're cutting from one scene and then the next scene is just two characters like fucking, I'm like, you guys just wanted to see people have sex at this point.
Right.
There was no reason for that.
That Friday the 13th remake with Jared Padalecki, whatever his last name is.
Fucking
that's
example.
the example that still gets me, where it's like,
why?
Because there was multiple of those scenes, where it's like, no, what is the reason for that?
Yeah, like, okay, cool, hot blonde girl, fine. But you guys were not even, like...
Guys.
Come on, like... It just didn't make any sense for that to happen. Like, you guys just want to see people have sex, and that's fine. But please be honest with yourself and just say that you want to make horror porn. Right. That's fine.
That's fine. That's what
in
you
fact,
do.
I don't know if that's a genre, but if someone wants to make it, and if you guys want to be honest with yourselves and just say you want to see people have sex and see people, like, you know, run from a serial killer, run from a supernatural entity, and then like break to a sex scene, fine.
That's fine.
But please don't make it seem like that love scene or makeout scene was necessary.
Right.
And you 9.9 times out of 10 it never is necessary. And that is my only gripe with that movie. It was like, why the fuck did you guys have to do that?
Otherwise flawless film.
Flawless.
So we got Tamara and Stay Alive so far. Moving on to round 2. Creep and Wrong Turn.
Again, very different.
So
like completely different. You're trying to make us short circuit.
I know, these are really hard.
This is a hard comparison.
So for the first one, we have Creep, which I feel like, again, might fall into the same category as like Tusk, where it's not super obscure, but it's not talked about that much, I don't think. So Creep is a found footage style movie. It's a young videographer answers an online ad for a one-day job in a remote town to record the last messages of a dying man. When he notices the man's odd behavior, he starts to question his intentions. And then Wrong Turn. Wrong Turn, I really feel like Wrong Turn is one of those movies that doesn't get talked about at all. Also, all of its really cheesy, bad subsequent sequels never get talked about. But Wrong Turn, the first one anyways, came out in 2003. The synopsis is, Chris and a group of 5 friends are left stranded deep in the middle of the woods after their cars collide. As they venture deeper into the woods, they face an uncertain and blood-curdling fate. All right, so what do we think about these two? I have my answer, but we'll see.
Wait, is it Creep?
No. It's Wrong Turn. It's Wrong Turn. Creep scared the shit out of me.
It's really surprising because I feel you're the one that suggested we watch that movie for the first time. Because I don't think I ever would have watched it on my own. But when you're like, no, we need to watch this, I was like,
okay, because
I'm scared.
Found footage movies, that's one thing about me. One thing about me is a found footage film is going to freak me out. So it really freaks me out. Creep is such a fucking good movie. All of the like creepy tidbits, the weird ominous tone, I really like all of it. I stand by that it's a good movie. However, Wrong Turn hits more boxes for me, where it's like, I kind of like the stranded films because they piss me off. One thing about me is I'm never going to get caught stranded anywhere. So y'all getting stuck in these woods with these weird inbred freaks, and then for all the sequels too, the sequels all follow the same formula of getting stranded somewhere, and they fall victim to what we were just talking about, unnecessary sex scenes, and they're pretty bad and they're pretty campy, but like, I love a good bad horror franchise. So Wrong Turn really just like hits for me. But we're all about pleading our cases here. Yeah. And I do love Creep. So I could go either way, but my first instinct is Wrong Turn.
Okay. Yeah. I'm actually personally really surprised by that. So
Eliza Dushku. Guys, can we get a little commotion for Eliza Dushku, okay? Because she's in the first one and she is gorgeous.
Like, who?
Eliza Dushku, the chick from Bring It On. The hot brunette from Bring It On.
The tattoo girl?
Yes.
She's in the first
Creep? Yeah. No. Wrong Turn. She's in the first Wrong Turn.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was like, I
you were
remember.
Like,
I was like, I don't remember her being...
Alaska Dushku's not in Creep. No, she isn't. You're right.
Yeah, okay. Well, now, you might be onto something with your explanation.
Now, hold on.
Now, Creep and Wrong Turn.
Wrong Term.
That guy distracted me. He walked by. I was like, who's that?
Get out of here.
Both of those movies, so they are very different. They both, well, depends on which Wrong Turn we're talking about. I don't remember which Wrong Turn it was, but I'll get to that in just a second. Both of those movies pissed me off equally for different reasons. Well, for the same reasons, sort of. Creep pissed me off because in my mind, I mean, we all do it when we watch movies, right? We all yell at the screen like, why would you do that? Why, like, what are you doing?
Right.
The whole time after things got really, really weird.
Yes.
I'm looking at this fucking guy. I'm like, why are you still here?
Yeah, like as soon as I see someone pull out a wolf mask, I think I'm out of there.
As soon as I see someone like being mild, any instinct that I have that's like, I feel like I'm about to be
murdered.
I'm leaving. The guy, didn't he pull out an axe at some point? Or he like chased something. There was one moment besides the wolf mask. I think he made him like lay in the, I don't remember.
Oh, was it Tubby Time when he's in the bathtub and he's like making him film like he's talking to his soon to be born son or something like that? I think
it was that.
That's weird. It's all weird.
Yeah, like there was a moment where I'm like, clearly something's very wrong and you still stayed. Like, I'm not saying you deserve to be murdered, but like, bitch, how?
At this point, like...
Yeah, like, I'm leaving. And that pissed me off because I'm sitting here and I'm yelling, like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
First of all, you're in this guy's being super weird. Not even like weird, like, ha ha ha, like, okay. Like, no, he's being like...
Weird.
Like, go home weird. Like, pack your shit and leave weird. And I get it, you're a man, so maybe it's different and you're like, I can handle myself, but clearly you couldn't.
Right.
So, I'm like, I'm pissed off. And I'm like, get the fuck out. But with Wrong Turn, again, I don't remember which one it was because I feel like we watched at least 3 or 4 of them.
Oh, there's 5 of them.
We watched at least 3 of them, but there was one, and it was one of the main characters was like, I mean, I don't want to say he's cute, but there was one of the main characters was like a tall dude with like the floppy hair.
Yeah.
And his whole little group of friends. There was a scene in one of the films where I think it was like either towards the end or in the middle of the film, they captured one of the freaky fucking inbred people.
Okay.
They captured them in like a jail, like
yes.
set.
Yes.
I'm like, cool. They caught one.
Yeah.
This dumb bitch. He's like taunting the monster. He's like, yeah, like you fucking got you, whatever. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
What are you doing? You caught one. Congratulations.
Right.
His dumbass goes up to the bars trying to be all big and bad. And he's like, yeah, we got... The fucking monster grabs his head and like bashes his fucking head into the bars. Kills him.
Was this the one that's like in the snow? It's like
yes.
That's the 4th one. That's the 4th one, I think. It's the 4th or 5th. And that's one of the ones where there's an unnecessary sex scene.
Yes.
A lesbian sex scene that my dad walked in on us watching.
Her dad walked in on us watching that, and it was mortifying.
It was so fucking mortifying. Because it had nothing to do with the film. Jump scare.
And it was the one... I think it was like one of the only sex scenes in the movie. And of course, it's 2 girls, which like, whatever. But to us, we're like, okay... But your fucking parent walks in and is like, of course, his instinct is like, okay, like, what the fuck are you guys watching? Like, we're watching a horror movie. I swear we're not in here just like watching.
I remember it because it had happened a couple times before with different movies where it's a 1 point. And I remember that was the movie that like broke the camel's back. And we both were like, we are so fucking sick of this because we're watching a literal horror movie. Yeah, like, and every time you guys walk in on the wrong fucking part. Like, and I think he stopped making fun of us after that because he was like, I get it.
Yeah, but still in that moment, we felt like, fuck? Like,
yeah.
Granted, collectively, both of our parents are pretty cool. Like, if you guys would be surprised what we got away with watching for the most part. Like, for some reason, my mom was like skeptical about me watching the movie 13, but granted, I was like 10. But other than that, like, we really weren't monitored with like what we watched because we were always independent children and like we had pretty mature mindsets. I mean, obviously we were immature. We're kids,
right? But we were mature for our age.
Yeah, like we weren't really monitored with what we consumed. So it was super awkward when, like, granted, something we shouldn't have been watching at the prepubescent age is a fucking full-on nude lesbian sex scene in a movie. Right. But it didn't faze us. So when you're...
To be fair, we were like 15, 16 by that point, but still.
Like, in my mind, I'm like, we're kids.
Well, maybe I was 16. That means you were like 17 then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we were a little bit older.
There's no way we were like 17.
No, I was like 15. You were 16.
Yeah,
at
I was
the
like,
most.
no, I was 17. I was like a junior in high school. We weren't even
that's true.
seeing each other that much by that point.
No, that's true. Yeah. It was like 15, 16.
Yeah, we were like early teens, but still, like, we're kids, you know? But
youngins.
We're youngins, and it's still super awkward because, like, obviously we're watching this movie and, like, up until that point, we're like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. And then, of course, like, the sex scene happens and it's like, guys, like, come on.
And it was just that one part, too, because I remember we used to spend the weekends, we'd hang out just watching horror movies for a while. And I remember that same weekend we watched that movie, we also watched American Psycho, which, like, there's some sex scenes in that, too. No one came in during those. Yeah. No one came in during those.
But of course, the girl on girl. Oh, shit.
Just that one.
Yeah, of course, naturally. But yeah, like with that being said, both of the movies pissed me off for those two reasons of like, excuse me, coffee burp. You have two characters who clearly don't value their lives.
Right.
And you're yelling at the screen like, bro.
Mm-hmm. Please, get it together.
Get it together. Like, you back away from the bars and you pack your bags.
Right.
Neither of you thought.
Not a single person used their brains in those films.
So it's hard to pick because they're so different. But I mean, what are we judging by this time?
Just whatever. I mean, whatever your gut instinct is. I'm gonna go Wrong Turn just because I just think they're more fun. Creep is a fucking good movie, but just like between these two, I guess also I'm kind of taking rewatchability into account. Like going back to the Tamara and Tusk, I'm good. I watched Tusk once. I'm so good. But Tamara, I'll rewatch again. And with these, like, I'll do a whole Wrong Turn marathon. Yeah. But Creep, after I watched it with, I think I watched it with Harm first, and then I watched it with you. I don't maybe watch it again, but like, I'm good. It really fucking scares me.
All right, we can go Wrong Turn then on this one.
All right, we'll do Wrong Turn. House of Wax and Summer's Moon. Harm, you're literally picking the best pairings. Like, I don't know how you're doing that.
You're making it so hard. I'm excited for this one, actually.
Excited. Oh, I've been waiting for this one.
I've been dying to talk about it for a fucking hot minute.
So I feel like this movie is a real obscure movie.
Summer's Moon?
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, this is like no contest an actual obscure movie. So it's from 2009. It stars our girl, Ashley Greene.
Alice Cullen.
The quick synopsis is a family of serial killers stalk a young woman out to find the father she's never known. Really short and to the point. Yeah. Then House of Wax, a true banger. Such a good fucking movie. We just rewatched this too.
The cast of this movie.
Goddamn. 2005. A group of teens are unwittingly, I don't think I've heard that word, are unwittingly stranded near a strange wax museum and soon must fight to survive and keep from becoming the next exhibit.
Oh, where to begin?
These are such good pairings because they have the same vibe of like the current at the moment, quote unquote, teen heartthrob starring in it. And like, it's just so fucking good. But
oh man. Okay. Pleading our cases?
I mean, wait, what are you thinking?
Well,
well,
because, okay, to talk about, if we're going like true horror,
Mm-hmm.
obviously we gotta give it to House of Wax.
I'm going House of Wax too.
But don't get us wrong. Summer's Moon is a good watch.
Oh yeah.
It for the time, because what year did you say?
2009.
2009. Like,
yeah.
I feel like that
still
was
peak horror.
Yeah,
time.
I feel like that's when Ashley Greene was kind of at the height of her career still.
Yeah.
So like that is like an indie film that I think like if you're a really big fan of like psychological thrillers or horror or like just any type of thriller movie, that one is good because I mean I like the concept. I had never seen a movie like it.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty basic for the most part, but the concept, like the plot, everything, like
I remember the execution being pretty unique too.
Yeah,
like the execution was pretty good.
It kept me interested. I was like, it was realistic in a sense where it's like you have this like family in this rural town. Like anybody that consumes true crime knows that like crazy families in rural towns are kind of like real life scary.
Yep.
So it had that element of like, fuck, like, can you imagine being someone that like you don't know your father, you're out trying to go find him and he's a fucking psychopath? Hello? I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I'm a big scared right now, but I loved Summer's Moon.
It was a good one.
I thought it was really good.
Especially when, at the time, the only reason we were watching it is because we were fans of Twilight. So, we liked horror stuff. Like, it really kept us engaged when our only incentive to watch it was the star of it.
Yeah. And like,
so that's saying something.
Yeah. And Ashley Greene, like, despite what might later happen to her career, I thought she was really good in the film. I guess.
Yeah, she's good.
She's
fine.
good. She was good. That was during the time where I feel like we were deep diving into like the other more indie films that the other actors were doing. Like Robert Pattinson at the time, he was doing a lot more like of those like smaller indie movies.
Yeah.
And so was Kristen Stewart, I feel.
Yeah. Jackson Rathbone, honorable mention coming up shortly on this list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like everyone was kind of in their indie movie bag in different genres. I feel like Jackson and Ashley kind of went more thriller route where Rob went more drama route.
Yeah.
But yeah, like their careers were doing pretty good at that time. But yeah, that movie Summer's Moon was just different. It was really good for like for the indie horror genre.
Yeah.
Excellent movie, I think if you are able to find it somewhere.
But does it compare to House of Wax?
No.
It doesn't hold a candle.
Well, I feel like also, to be fair, I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't looked into this, but budget-wise, of course,
House of Wax had a big budget.
Like, come on now. You got Ashley Greene, and Ashley Greene wasn't even really that big yet at the time. Like, sure, if you're a fan of Twilight, you know who she was, but like ultimately, there were probably other actors in that movie that were probably bigger than her.
Right.
But with House of Wax,
Chad Michael Murray.
We're talking an all-star cast.
Paris Hilton.
Jared Padalecki. Fucking.
Oh yeah, I forgot Jared Padalecki's in. We just watched this.
Jared Padalecki, Chad Michael Murray, Paris Hilton. Not me forgetting his name. The light-skinned black dude from One-on-One. I forget his name, but he's famous too. Like him, everybody.
Everyone in that had some like clout at the time.
Yeah. Like,
and shout out to the My Chemical Romance song in the end credits.
That's what made the movie for me like the most like scary almost because like at the end, any movie that plays like a hardcore like rock anthem at the end.
Let's get back to that.
Is always going to be scary. If you're going to make a horror movie, you better put some banging ass metal or rock song at the end.
Yes.
Because that is what settled it for me. The start of Helena.
Yes,
right?
It's Helena.
At the end was like, I watched that movie, had to take a.
Yeah, because you're just like bombarded with like horror, thriller energy. And then there's always a conclusion, whether it's a happy ending or not. But there's a conclusion where you're like, okay, a breath. And then you just hear like Gerard's fucking wailing. And you're like, oh my God, okay.
Same
shit.
thing with, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Ghost Ship.
I haven't.
Bitch, you gotta watch Ghost
Ship. Okay, we'll watch it.
no, for real. Because that's one of my favorite horror movies ever, Ghost Ship. And the movie itself, phenomenal. Like,
Okay.
great plot, great casting, like, super great movie. But at the end, I won't spoil the end for anyone that hasn't seen it.
Yeah, please.
But at the end, there is that immediate intro of a rock song, or I feel like such a fucking old lady. A rock song, but like it's like metal band or some band, like the intro of their song that they use. I think I have it on a playlist or something. I have to play it for you. But the intro of it, right as the movie's coming to its conclusion and you see what happens, it triggers something where you're like, oh my God. And it's a genius move for like any horror movie that's going to play like something like My Chemical Romance or like that band. I don't remember the name of it, but like at the end of Ghost Ship, that song starts playing and you're like, oh, God damn. Fuck. So House of Wax just has
the soundtrack,
has perfect elements,
the cast,
everything.
House of Wax. That was a pretty easy one.
That was easy.
Okay, so we have The Initiation of Sarah, a TV movie, and Final Destination 3.
Wow. Okay.
Those are good ones.
So to start The Initiation of Sarah, when did we first saw that movie?
We were on a cruise. We were on a cruise with my parents. It was on, we went to Ensenada, so they had like the Spanish version of the N, and it was on that. That's when we saw it.
Oh, plot twist. That wasn't the original.
Yeah, it's a remake. I found that out today.
Fuck. Okay, the original one came out the one we saw came out in 2006. So The Initiation of Sarah is about a college student who uses her supernatural powers against a rival sorority house. And it is in fact a remake of the 1978 TV movie.
Period.
Love that. And then our other film,
Final Destination 3.
6 years after students cheated death, another teen has a premonition that she and her friends will be involved in an accident. When the vision comes true, the students and survivors deal with the repercussions of cheating the Grim Reaper.
Well, I mean, I hate to like come out of the gate hot, but it's Final Destination 3 for me. It has to be.
I mean, yeah, without a doubt.
The Initiation of Sarah is a good movie.
Yeah.
It holds up from what I remember. It has like the iconic Jennifer Tilly in it, but Final Destination 3 just is that girl. She's it.
Yeah, I feel like that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, The Initiation of Sarah has like some nostalgic feelings tied to it. Like we saw it when we were kids. It was pretty good. It's like remained in my mind for some reason.
Yeah, totally.
But very much so like Final Destination 3.
Yeah, I feel like when you not that it would matter unless the movie was like super, super excellent, but when you're comparing a TV movie remake to like an original like blockbuster, the Final Destination franchise as a whole is just...
It's so good.
It's great. But number 3 specifically...
Specifically number 3.
Is the one that I feel resonates with us the most out of all of them.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Alexis Johnson, everything about it.
The plot, I feel like for some reason this one was the most engaging for me.
I agree.
I don't know if maybe because, I mean, I'm pretty sure all of the other... Well, no, all the other the people from the first 2 movies were like college students, right?
I think so.
I think they were college students. Yeah. I don't recall, but they were college students. These were like graduating high school students. Yeah. And, you know, they were doing things that I feel like we were probably doing at the time, going to an amusement park or like a fair or whatever, things that we would do all the time. So when you have that element, like, I don't know, it wasn't really relatable to me that I'm like getting on a plane to Paris as a student, college or otherwise.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like subconsciously that element kind of played a part for me, and like why number 3 just kind of like hit home a little bit more.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I go to fucking Disneyland and I'm terrified now.
Oh yeah, same. It really affected me going on rides for a little bit.
Yeah. So there's like those elements. Like we go to fast food restaurants all the time. I got to worry about someone's engine going into the back of my head.
I mean, it sure as shit reinstated the belief that I should not go in a tanning bed, it really just like solidified that. Because like I'm white, okay? I don't need any more excuses to wrinkle prematurely. So I was not planning on going in a tanning bed ever. And seeing that movie, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm actually so good.
I'm so good.
Thank you.
Like, how the fuck does that even happen?
See,
what actually happened to where they got stuck? Like, how does that happen?
I think for Final Destination 3 too, because like we've seen all of them. Except, you know what? I actually don't think I've seen the second one, surprisingly. But I've seen almost all of them. And quickly they divulged, whatever. They quickly dived into madness. And the third was like the last one that had some remnants of like possibility.
Yeah.
And it just was engaging. Yeah, like Alexis Johnson, obviously we loved at the time. Instant star was everything to us.
Yes.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead was iconic. Just like the cast, everything about it was so good. And like the hot emo friend of Alexis Johnson, like, hi sir, hi. So like that whole film, like for the age we were, the time we saw it, and it still holds up. It still holds up.
Absolutely it does. But yeah, I feel like that relatability aspect kind of made it more scary because, I mean, not to say that the other movies didn't have, the whole point is like the semi-realistic ways that these people die, getting hit by buses, wires, whatever the case may be. Like in some way or another, it was realistic. I think it was number 2. I think it was the second one. That
with the wood in the back of
I think that was the one that scared the masses. Was that even me to this day when I'm behind a semi that has like logs or poles, because I see a lot of trucks on the road that have like the metal poles.
Me too.
The way I'm getting into the next lane, you're not going to catch me slipping.
Nope.
I've seen Final Destination 2.
I am not stupid, okay?
Literally. But yeah, like those movies, like obviously there's that realistic aspect of like how you could die in real life, but at the same time, that one specifically, number 3, was just like you're thinking about it differently for some reason. Like me, like a roller coaster coming off the tracks, falling to my death, absolutely not. Nope. A log, number 2, log coming out and impaling me in the face.
I think it's the 5th one where they do the laser eye, the LASIK eye surgery. I'm good. I'm so good on that.
The acupuncture thing?
Nope.
I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah, but we got to give it to number 3 then. Yep, Final Destination 3.
Final Destination 3. Dread and Dead Silence. I mean...
Oh, God. Okay.
So quickly, this is one of the movies we were talking about that has another fellow Twilight star in it, which is the only reason we watched it, but it still remains one of the most fucked up movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, that movie was, I think, another one that might be on this list, Inside.
Oh, okay, yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but it's coming up.
Oh, my bad.
I mean, it's not a spoiler, whatever.
But it's one of those movies where, like, the ending is so, like, you're like, no way.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Like, obviously, there's like a small expectation for horror movies that the ending is going to be happy or good, as we kind of brought up earlier. But with Dread, the ending was so...
It's a satisfying, fucked up ending.
Satisfying for who, bitch? I was crying. I was like, no, please.
For the viewer. For the folks at home.
That movie, to this day, there's a scene, and sorry, let me give the synopsis of each. My bad. So Dread came out in 2009, and it's about 3 college students who set out to document what other people dread the most, people's worst fears. However, one of the 3 turns out to secretly be a sadistic psychopath who uses this knowledge to basically torture his interviewees.
Period.
It's so scary because this is like not real people, but like there's no boogeyman. It's just some guy who's like fucking crazy.
Right.
And there's a moment in that movie when one of the subjects, it doesn't scare me so much as make me sad.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, one of the guys that they get, I forget the actor's name, but he usually does comedy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was something, I don't even remember what his fear was,
Mm-hmm.
but the main guy, sorry, that's my bad. One of the main guy, he's interviewing this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, ends up cutting off the guy's ear.
Yes, I remember.
And he cried out for his mom.
Yeah.
He said, "Mommy."
Yeah.
But he said it with such fear and like just it made me so upset.
Yeah. It's a pretty brutal movie, and that scene is pretty brutal.
That made me something about someone like a grown person, man or woman, like
calling for their mother.
Mom. That made me so sad, dude. But yeah, so we have Dread,
which I mean, we'll talk about Dead Silence really quick, but we're picking Dread. There's just no way.
Like we're gonna we'll talk about Dead Silence, but Dread was like just next level.
Yeah.
But yes, Dead Silence came out in 2007. It's an hour and 29 minutes. And it is about a young widower who returns to his hometown to search for answers to his wife's murder, which may be linked to a ghost of a deceased ventriloquist.
This movie, I picked this movie for this list, and it's not necessarily obscure, but I like that it's campy. I like that it's about like weird fucking ventriloquist dummies. And to your point, the ending is really like, it's a really good plot twist at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we're comparing it with, like, we're competing it against Dread. Dread is so good.
I definitely agree that Dread is more obscure than Dead Silence.
Absolutely.
I mean, me personally, I haven't seen too many people talk about Dead Silence when they talk about horror movies, but like, I feel like Dread definitely, I've never seen a single person talk about it.
Me neither.
I feel like maybe not a lot of people have even seen it or know about it, but Dread hits so many boxes, like the drama, the plot, like everything about it is so like, there's a lot of elements to this movie that are like sick and sad.
And there's no supernatural elements. There's no ghosts. There's no this. There's no that. It's just psychological horror. Jackson Rathbone. Shout out Jackson Rathbone. Hello. He killed it. He's so fucking good in this movie. And the ending to this day, I think, is one of the horror movies that really makes me feel nasty.
Yeah. Like absolutely like gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Sick and sad. I fervently believe that our protagonists were gonna get this fool, but alas, I mean, no spoilers for anyone that decides they want to watch the movie, but there are a lot of elements in this movie that are just straight up like sad.
Yeah, it's a very sad psychological horror, but
you have to be like, don't watch this if you're like not in a place where you can handle it, but like but also like the movie, the whole premise is that it plays on people's fears, like their worst possible fears. So you have this man who's like getting people to delve into their worst nightmares, and he exploits them to like the ultimate degree.
And he feeds on it too. Like, like throughout the movie, he just gets more sick and twisted. Sick and twisted.
Sick and twisted.
So that now I want to rewatch that movie. I want to rewatch that movie.
Yeah.
All right, so Dread
for the win.
Some of these brackets are starting to get so like there's such a clear choice, whereas in the beginning it really required some brain power. So now we're just like we're firing through these now.
Yeah.
What are the next two, Harm? Hostile, and Inside.
Hold on.
Down. Those are okay.
All right. So our picks were Hostel and Inside, right? So Hostel came out in 2005. It's an hour and 34 minutes. It's about 3 backpackers who head to Slovak city that promises to meet their hedonistic expectations with no idea of the hell that awaits them.
Period. Oh, excuse me. Don't be rude.
You're so cute, but these are my good pants.
You want the baby? I just want her to attack. She attack.
Okay. I wish I could be a cat person, guys.
You're trying.
But
you got allergies.
I'm allergic.
I'm allergic.
And then we have Inside. I cannot pronounce the original French title. But
Doesn't matter.
but it came out in 2007 and it's an hour and 22 minutes. 4 months after the death of her husband, a woman on the brink of motherhood is tormented in her home by a strange woman who wants her unborn baby.
What are we thinking? What's the temperature check here?
Me personally,
it's Inside.
I'm going Inside.
You going Inside?
Because, right? I mean, the Hostel movies...
Kitty hairs all over my face.
The Hostel movies are like...
traumatizing.
They're
terrifying.
traumatizing, but Inside just hits differently for so many reasons. This, similarly to Dread, is one of those movies where, like, it's so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I was going to say it's probably more fucked up than Dread. It's about the same level.
I would say it's more fucked up because in Dread, like, yes, it's psychologically, like, scary, and there's like some mild elements of torture, but no body torture. Like, without spoilers, like, Dread just makes people go into really uncomfortable situations, minus like the cutting the ear off part. But like with Inside, like, that's full on fucking torture to the most devastating like degree. So I would agree. I'm with Inside. I'm with it.
Having that extra element of like this woman being like practically ready to give birth. Like, it's not
Any
like
moment.
she's like, it'd be different. It's like, oh, she's like a month pregnant,
Right.
3 months pregnant. She's like full on like.
Right. It's like a fully formed child.
Yeah, like she's like at least 7-8 months in.
Yeah.
And having that element of like, not just being like, I'll call her a final girl for the sake of this conversation, but like being a final girl, it's always someone who's like able to run and able to do all these things, like run from the killer or whatever.
And she can't.
She can't. She's literally sick, pregnant. Like, she just lost her husband. She's by herself. She doesn't have anybody that she lives with anymore. Like, it's just her by herself.
Right.
Can you imagine? It's already scary enough being pregnant by yourself.
Yeah.
With like all the horrors of the outside world, but like having a psychopath pretty much stalk you inside your home,
right,
trying to steal your fucking baby.
That's next level fucked up.
It was so scary. I mean, no spoilers for anybody that wants to watch it.
Yeah.
But
the ending is, I remember the ending.
The ending,
it's burned into my brain.
The ending is pretty sick, but I will say, like, I don't really qualify this as a spoiler, I guess, but similarly to, I feel like not a lot of horror movies, some horror movies will do this where like they'll send someone in that a person thinks is the killer and they end up accidentally killing that person.
Yes.
This girl accidentally kills someone that comes into her house that like was a potential savior, and she accidentally like kills her own mother.
Oh my God, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
I forgot that part.
Because she thought it was the lady.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it was her mom.
We just watched The Strangers the other night, and it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I had in mind when I mentioned that. Was like, you have movies that will do that. And my thing is, what annoys me about that is if you're going to come into my home and you clearly see something's happen, make some noise.
Announce yourself.
Announce yourself. Don't just walk in quietly. If there is someone in the house who's like a murderer or a burglar,
right,
making yourself known isn't going to make things worse.
Yeah. Make yourself known. Please.
Make noise, because that person that's in the home is already terrified. Clearly something has happened. You see shit all over the floor. There's blood, all kinds of shit.
Right.
Clearly something has happened. Announce yourself.
Yes.
And be like, hey, are y'all in here? What's going on? Because at least that person knows that they're safe.
Yeah.
And there's someone in there. Then they'll come out. But no, as it happens every time, the person that comes in doesn't announce themselves. They tiptoe in. Now you've been killed, and now you really have no one that's coming to help.
I think that that's one of the gripes I have with horror movies. Like, one of the tropes that I cannot stand is that, like, when the savior doesn't announce themselves, or like something happens where like the only car that they could get away in, they don't pay attention and they drive into a pothole, like whatever it is, where it's like the one out you have, you fuck it up.
Yeah,
I can't.
But okay, so that Inside is definitely a top pick.
That was a quick one. All right, now we got the last two, Harm. Oh,
wow.
The Girl Next Door and Dead Girl. Again, you keep picking like the best ones to like put against each other. Those are the last two.
The Girl Next Door and Dead Girl.
These are pretty similar, like content-wise.
Yeah. From the title to the premise.
Unfortunately.
Sort of, in a way. A
Yeah.
captive woman.
Who gets
just brutalized.
Ugh.
It's...
These might be two of the scariest on the list just because of...
yeah.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, no, trigger warning to anyone that's like terrified of being,
I guess
like,
we could have put a trigger warning at the beginning of this whole episode because
Whatever.
some of y'all are scared of everything.
Yeah,
but this is real trigger warning.
I'm going to say the same thing that one of my favorite true crime YouTubers, Georgia Marie, says in her videos. You know what the content is based on the title and the thumbnail, whatever. You're responsible for your own triggers. If you have an issue with anything that is talked about, you have the option of not listening. So, yes, fine, we can put trigger warnings, but please don't make others responsible for your triggers. You do not have to consume horror. You don't have to consume true crime. There are other things out there for you. If you can handle listening to it, great. But if you can't, then don't listen to it.
Right.
Like, don't trigger yourself and then say, why didn't you give me a warning? Like, girl.
Like, please.
We literally are talking about an obscure horror movie bracket. Like,
yeah. Please.
Be responsible for your own triggers. You know what triggers you. Don't listen to things that you can't handle.
Right.
I would never, we don't want to trigger anybody ever. But also have some discernment. So, these are our last two?
Our last two before we start getting into the finals.
Yeah.
The final rounds.
All right. So we have The Girl Next Door, which came out in 2007. It's rated R. It's an hour and 31 minutes. It follows the unspeakable torture and abuse committed on a teenage girl in the care of her aunt and the boys who witness and fail to report the crime. Now, for those of you out there who consume true crime, you might be saying to yourself, this sounds familiar. Well, that's because it's based on a true story.
Never.
A true event. This happened to two sisters who were put into the care of either a relative or a foster parent because the girl's parents, I don't know if they were like, not circus people. I forget the context, but like basically they had kids, they couldn't take care of them. So the girls got placed with like in a temporary living situation. And I believe it was the older sister that got like the brunt of the torture while the younger one just kind of like
coasted.
Yeah, and they abused the older sister so severely. This woman, the woman who was taking care of them. And like she would invite the neighborhood kids to like partake.
Right. Okay.
And basically like she ended up being pretty much tortured to death. And it was horrifying. Like what actually happened to this girl in real life was horrifying. I'm pretty sure the Crime Junkie podcast did an episode on it.
Oh my God.
in their beginning like episodes. But yeah, the Girl Next Door is based on a real true crime case.
Holy shit.
And then we have Dead Girl, came out in 2008. It's rated R. It's an hour and 41 minutes. It's about two high school boys who discover an imprisoned woman in an abandoned mental asylum who cannot die.
Okay, so
heavy sigh.
Again, we already, stressed this, but both of these movies, heavy trigger warning for what we're going to talk about. They are very similar in a lot of ways. They talk about just the complete brutal torture of women.
Yeah.
For me, I think The Girl Next Door, I have to go with The Girl Next Door. For me personally, like we didn't get into it just because, Inside was just the clear winner. But with Hostel, the Hostel movies genuinely freak me out. I can't do torture. That's what really makes me feel sick to my stomach is like torture. So with Dread, like that's more like, philosophical, whatever. But with Hostel, like there's a couple scenes in Hostel, like the movies that just to this day freak me the fuck out. So with The Girl Next Door, I have to go with that one just because like Torture freaks me the fuck out. It's not a rewatchable movie, but it is a memorable movie. Mm-hmm. Like I still remember a lot of parts of The Girl Next Door that just freak me the fuck out.
Yeah, there's parts in that movie that I don't even think we can. Well, I mean, I guess we could mention it, but like I don't even want to mention.
Yeah,
blowtorch. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I would be inclined to agree. Like I feel like Dead Girl, the concept of the movie makes me so sick and angry.
Yeah.
I mean, not to make this too long than it already probably is, but I could go on about how that movie is like how the way men are and the male instinct. That's a whole topic in itself.
Yep.
Based on that movie alone.
Yep.
If any of you who might listen to this episode and you've gotten this far, if you ever want to watch Dead Girl, you'll see
Please do. It's a good horror movie.
It's a good horror movie, but it makes you think about like
the fact that morgues and mortuaries don't want to hire men. Makes you think about that.
Yeah. And these guys aren't even that. They're just a couple of fucking weirdos. Yeah. So like there's a movie, I forget the name of it exactly, but it's another kind of similar movie to Dead Girl about it's about this starlet. She's like an Instagram model or some like famous actress who dies and basically the same concept, like these guys like take it upon themselves to like have their way with her because she's like this hot girl and they're like, oh my god, like can you believe like so and so is dead or whatever. Like it's really sick, but it just makes you think about the male instinct and how like you have this girl who's like locked in a fucking underground room and no, their instinct isn't to be like, oh, we should call the police. They're
it's to do what they want with her.
They're like, she's literally like,
she's kind of hot.
She's kind of hot and she's locked up. Like we should be taking advantage of. But
quickly, minus the cat interruption. So are we doing The Girl Next Door or Dead Girl? I think I also am more inclined to pick Girl Next Door because it's more fucked up because there's like kids involved. That like it's not okay. Trust me. Look, I'm not justifying shit.
Neither of these, both of these movies equally.
Yes,
these was like a perfect last pick because they are so similar. But yeah,
for The Girl Next Door, like the kid, they're kids.
They're
it's
kids.
Not giving them a pass, but like there's almost this element of like they don't know what the fuck is going on and they don't understand ish,
but also,
which makes it more fucked up though.
It's like I mean, I don't want to. I'm not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt at all. I don't care that you don't know what you're torture is torture, and it's wrong.
Oh yeah.
And I forget the context or where I heard this conversation being had or what the case was, but someone was recently talking about how a child's instinct, unfortunately, human nature, our nature is not to be good. No, I remember now. There's this girl who made a TikTok about how she was like, I'm coming on here and I'm openly admitting that like I'm a mean person. I'm not a good person. I'm really mean and I'm trying from this day forward to like, you know, be better. But like I'm really ugly on the inside. Like I'm not nice. I'm not nice to people who don't even deserve it. Like I'm not a good person. Basically is what she was saying. And she was like, it's just human nature, human instinct that like we are selfish until we unlearn, like we have to learn to like, you know, we have to have empathy to, you know, be kind to people. But like, you know, our instinct as children, we're selfish. But then we have to be taught, you know, these things.
How to like have empathy, take care of other people.
Yeah. And I mean, some people obviously have it more naturally than others.
Right.
But, you know, she was saying, you know, a child's instinct is to be selfish until they learn better. And yeah, fine, I'll give you that. But at the same time, when it comes to literally holding a girl hostage and torturing her and like doing all the fucked up shit that they did to that girl, like, no. All of you are getting your ass beat and all of you are going to jail. If it were up to me, I don't give a fuck if you were 8 years old, 9, 10, 11. I don't care. You're going to jail because cigarette burns?
Disgusting.
No, there's something fundamentally wrong with you that even if you think for a second that it's wrong, but you don't do anything to stop it.
Yeah. It just makes it a better scary movie, honestly, where it's like, you guys are children and this is still your inclination to do this. Like, you might not know any better, but what is making you do this?
Yeah, like, what is making you be like, oh, this is funny?
Right, like, what? When I was your age, I was playing with dolls. That's what I thought was funny. What's your damage? Like, what's your deal?
What's the deal with the kid? He seems a bit touched or medicated.
Y'all are lucky that Zodiac wasn't on this list because we would have been here for 2 hours just talking about one movie.
No, if we were talking about like greatest movies of all time, that would have been on the list.
That's another episode,
but yeah, I would be. I think I have to agree. Dead Girl, Girl Next Door. My bad.
Okay,
Girl Next Door. So
we've completed the first bracket.
Yeah,
we've gotten from 16 to 8.
Our options.
So our brackets are Tamara versus Stay Alive.
Yes.
Wrong Turn versus House of Wax. Final Destination 3 versus Dread. And Inside versus The Girl Next Door. So for the first bracket of round 2,
okay, this time
Tamara versus Stay Alive.
Yeah. So now that we've literally broken down every single movie, I think now we can kind of do our rapid fire round.
Yeah, rapid fire.
So it's Tamara and
Stay Alive. Tamara versus Stay Alive.
Stay Alive.
All right, so Wrong Turn versus House of Wax.
House of Wax.
House of Wax. And then Final Destination 3 versus Dread. I'm going to say Dread.
Me too.
Okay. Dread.
Totally.
Inside versus Girl Next Door. What's another hard one?
I'm going Inside.
I'll do Inside.
Because it's just like, it's so... For like an original concept that's not based on anything as far as I know.
Yeah.
That just came from someone's mind.
Like, you're fucked up for that.
That's crazy. I think that's pretty impressive. But anyway, yeah.
So now we got round 3.
Yes.
This is 4. Only 4 are left. Stay Alive versus House of Wax. This is where it gets hard. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, no.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to say House of Wax. Like, Stay Alive is good, but we can't start. The bit can't continue. Stay Alive's fucking good, but House of Wax?
If we're going like, let the non-comedic route.
Yeah,
I feel like House of Wax gives me more like, scare, versus like the funny.
Although I do love Stay Alive, and I'm sorry that they have to get kicked out of this bracket now.
That's really shocking for both of us, I gotta say. But yeah, House of Wax.
That actually pains me.
Yeah.
So then we have Dread versus Inside. I'm going Dread.
Really?
Yes, I'm gonna go Dread.
Okay.
Are we gonna have to rock, paper, scissors this? Because I feel like you're gonna go Inside.
I was gonna go Inside because, again, like, that movie is just so, like...
Right. Okay, should we rock, paper, scissors this then? Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna do Inside. I thought Dread was way...
I think they're both equally, like... Okay, now what? Now what?
So this is for the last one. The number 1 of all 16.
Oh, shit.
House of Wax or Inside.
Okay.
Now
I feel like we need to read.
You can't lie to yourself. House of Wax takes it. It's campy. It's scary. The cast, the score, everything. It's an original, like...
It's got everything.
It has everything.
I will not deny. It got a great cast. It is technically a remake, but
I didn't know that. I'm stupid.
The original was with Vincent Price, I think.
Oh, hell yeah.
The king of horror,
Love
in my
Vincent
opinion.
Price.
But House of Wax, I feel like it has all the proper elements. It has a little bit of comedy.
Yes.
It has the scare. It has the drama.
Yes.
It has everything.
So House of Wax is the winner.
If you guys disagree with our findings, please sound off.
It's so crazy how these brackets go down.
It is, because honestly, like, all those movies are really good.
They are. But House of Wax just, like, it toughed it out, man.
I feel like it's one of those movies that, like, it's good enough. I can watch that movie over and over again.
Yeah. And I will.
And I will.
And I will.
Because the acting is also really good.
Yes.
Like, Alicia Silverspoon, whatever the fuck her last name is, and Chad Michael Murray, they did their thing with the acting.
The fingertip? Yeah.
I remember when I first saw that movie in elementary school, I had a friend named Amanda, and she would bring that part up every 10 minutes. She'd be like, Kiara, do you remember when the girl got her finger cut off? I'd be like, yes, Amanda, I remember. But that movie, it was just so good when you first see it.
Yeah.
It gives you everything it's supposed to give you. It keeps you guessing. It has enough of a plot twist.
Yes.
That like you're like, oh shit. Like it gives you everything. I love the fun fact that Paris Hilton, because she'd never really done like horror before, she was having a hard time with like the screaming in the scene when she's running through like the abandoned car place. She had a hard time. So she made everyone, all the crew, screamed with her so she can feel comfortable screaming. So she would have everyone scream.
I love that. I had no idea.
Granted, it was still not great, but she did better than she would have. Yeah, she was like had to get comfortable, and I feel like this is a good segue into talking about what might come up in one of our later episodes about how Chad Michael Murray ended up ruining his relationship with Sophia Bush.
True. You know what?
Because of Paris.
That is a good episode. That's a good segue into our next episode.
We talk about our favorite celebrity gossip that like changed
no one talks about.
That changed the course of our lives, even though they don't know us and we don't know them.
It really did change the trajectory of our lives, I think so.
I mean, I'm gonna look more into this to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure there were at least rumors that like during this filming, Chad Michael Murray ended up like, because I think either Paris had like a big crush on Jared or something happened between Paris and Chad.
Oh shit.
That like fucked up his relationship with Sophia Bush. I think he cheated on Sophia or something. I don't know. Again, if I'm wrong and I'm just talking out of my ass and like this is all made up, fine. But I'm pretty sure I remember.
But you don't think you're wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong. I remember hearing something about that. Like, yeah, it was super messy.
I'm excited to get into that. I can't believe House of Wax, a sleeper. It really did just. It snuck up.
It swooped on in as the winner. I didn't expect that because all of the movies on this list are really.
Oh yeah.
Like really good movies.
But Stay Alive is the winner in our hearts.
Yeah,
I mean we can't look past our blind love of this movie.
Stay Alive,
but like
is the ultimate winner. But like for the sake of this, like yeah, House of Wax takes it. Yeah, and
Misty.
Okay.
Misty Harmscat just, for our audio listeners, just launched herself onto the couch.
Yeah, if you guys are hearing little ringling bells,
that's Misty.
It's Misty, and she's jumping and biting and beating people up.
Frolicking.
Yeah.
And being gleeful about her abuse.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I'm very shocked and surprised at how this bracket went down, but I'm glad we got to talk about these. And if you disagree with our choices, let us know, and let us know what your favorite obscure horror movies are. We guarantee at least one of us has seen them.
Yeah.
We guarantee.
Yeah. Unless you guys are going to be one of those TikTok people that brings up movies like
snuff films.
Yeah, or like a Serbian film. If I hear one more person bring up that movie, I've never watched that movie. I never will. It sounds absolutely abhorrent. But I think some people should not be allowed to make movies. I feel like if you're gonna make like gory movies or fucked up movies, like do it with some fucking integrity, maybe. I don't know.
Period.
Because the horror genre doesn't get enough respect as it is.
It doesn't.
I feel like when it comes to award shows or award ceremonies, horror movies are never a part of the conversation, even though me personally feel like horror movies gives off some of the best acting performances. Because to be afraid, and there's a lot of acting that there's a lot of emotion that goes into being in a horror movie that I think doesn't get enough credit when it comes to like people's capability as actors. Like when we talk about the Meryl Streeps of the award ceremonies or whoever's getting an award, it's always for something historical bullshit. Oh, like they played fucking George Washington, like they played some historical figure, or they played somebody, and it's like, okay, yeah. They did a British accent. Congratulations.
Are like
there's a lot more work that goes into like being afraid or in some cases, when it's like a supernatural movie and you have to be afraid of something that's not really there or something that looks ridiculous that you're like running from, to be able to put that emotion at the forefront of your performance and do it well, that it's believable, that's not easy. And I feel like a lot of people overlook that. And the horror genre gets cheapened by unnecessary sex scenes and all this other shit. That's like, if there's been some good movies, indie or otherwise, you know, I know a lot of people talk about like the Hereditaries and the
Hereditary and
Midsommar,
they're good. They're good. Barbarian, like all the Jordan Peele Peele movies. Like there are a lot of good horror movies, but it's like we just wanted to highlight some ones that maybe you haven't seen or you haven't heard of, or like just ones that like are fun. Horror movies are fun and they're
fun,
good.
But sometimes they can really make you think.
They can really get your mind turning.
Yeah, then get the cold churning. It gets the cold churning for sure. But yeah, those were our picks.
Please let us know yours, because we're always looking for more recommendations too. So
absolutely.
Let us know.
And I feel like there's a lot of movies that now you and I need to watch. She hasn't seen Black Christmas.
I haven't seen Ghost Ship. I haven't seen 13 Ghosts.
Those are like...
I haven't seen 28 Days of Night.
20,
what the fuck
30
is that?
Days of Night.
30 Days of Night. I haven't seen that. 28 Days Later. I haven't seen that.
Josh Hartnett.
How dare you, Josh Hartnett?
30 Days of Night.
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
You guys.
You know what? We have to end this episode.
You know what? We gotta
squabbling.
we don't want to make this too long. But
we don't want to make this too long.
We have to go.
But we literally have to go now. So
So thanks for listening, and shout out to our producer Harmony for making all of these possible and for helping us out with our list and doing a perfect randomization of our list.
True. And for producing and for our song.
Yes, and keeping us on our toes with that list.
Literally.
And if you would like to find us, you can find us on... Well, you can find me on Instagram at KEI_ARAA.
You can find me everywhere, except for maybe Twitter, at Revolting Youth with zeros for O's. And if you want to follow our podcast, it's at I Don't Want to Make This Too Long on Instagram and TikTok. I'm pretty sure it's at Too Long Pod. I have to double check. Our TikTok's a mess right now, but we're going to figure it out.
Still figuring that out. But yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week for our next episode.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
See ya.